Hey guys, so yeah, I am here with Conor McGrandles, obviously signed for the Imps again last deadline day. So Conor, welcome back to the Stacey West. It must feel like deja vu. It's deadline day and you're back on with us.
Hi, thank you very much. Obviously, different circumstances this time, so yeah, good to be on.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, we wanted to get the insight from a player's perspective on deadline day. So obviously you were kind of one of the obvious choices given the circumstances last year. So um as someone that moved to the club or moved on deadline day in general last year, how stressful is it for you moving at such short notice?
Yeah, it is really stressful. I think, luckily for me, it wasn't like a proper last second thing where you have to shoot up at like 6 o'clock or that. I'd the kind of a few days previous, I kind of like knew it was maybe happening, so like to manage to go in on deadline day morning into Charlton and then get it sorted and then drove up. And I think I was in Lincoln by about 2, 3 o'clock ish. And then that gives us enough time not to like proper be rushed. But it can be, especially if you get told late on that you know you're not wanted or that, and you're just scrambling to find anything. But luckily that wasn't the case for me last year.
Okay. Um, so do you usually have, I mean, obviously you say there was a slightly different circumstance last year. Do you, do players have an inkling that someone might be coming in for you if you're, potentially going to be moving on deadline day?
Yeah, obviously your agent in the club will be telling you this is interest or interest here and there. So you're kind of, if you've been told that maybe you're not wanted anymore, then you kind of half expect it. You just sometimes don't have a clue what it's going to be or where it's going to be. It could be the other end of the country or something like that. So you kind of have an idea, but still in the back of your head, you never know if it's actually going to come off. So it's dead stressful.
Okay. And how do you prep for that? I mean, obviously, like you say, if you're potentially going from one end of the country to the other, you're going to have things like your medicals. Do you kind of get closer to somewhere that you think you might be going, or do you kind of base yourself in the middle of the country so you've got a pretty even shot of getting to somewhere?
I think last year I just went into the training ground in the morning and tried to get it done. This is Charlton's training ground, so obviously I was in London and I was having to get up to Lincoln. So I tried to make sure that it got done as quick as possible. I had just like a bag packed just in case, like ready to go. And then because my girlfriend was staying with me at the time, so we had a flat there in London, so I was able to just go to there, and then the next day off we had Lincoln. That's when I came back and got all my stuff and uh, sorted it for there. So like I just like tried to get it done as soon as possible, if that makes sense. Because as you say, like you don't know where you're going, so you just have to kind of be prepared.
Yeah, I've just got this picture in my head of a service station somewhere in the Midlands, just with loads of footballers going like, "Well, I don't know where I'm going yet, but yeah, we'll figure something out." You say there that that you wanted to get it done quickly. Obviously, there is the element of you know you will want to go somewhere, but if there's a situation, for example, if there's two or three clubs that are coming in for you, is there any pressure from your current club to sort of push you in one direction, or is it how much input does each party have on that?
Yeah, sometimes that can be the case. I think if say there's a club that's maybe competing directly or close enough-ish to you, like say a team wants to stay up and stay in division and it's close like that, they might not want you to go there. They might want you to go to a team in a different division or something like that. But usually you have the choice. If there's two or three clubs, you can hopefully pick which one you think suits best. But that's not always the case. And then sometimes you can, feel a wee bit pressured into making a decision that you might not make if everything was on the same playing field.
Okay, and does that? Well, I mean, obviously it must do, but how does that uncertainty affect those around you? So friends, family, both before and after the move on deadline day, particularly if it involves a big physical move.
Yeah, it's difficult. It is really difficult because usually, say it's you've got your partner or whatever, they'll have jobs in the area probably or something like that. So they kind of need to, uproot their lives as well. If you need to actually like move house or move apartment or whatever, so it is a big stressful thing on everyone. That's sometimes you need to not just think of yourself when you're making the decisions, because it can be really stressful as well for other people that involves like in your life. And I think that's kind of something that doesn't get spoke about or seen. The stuff that you need to like make, things that you need to make in the background, and obviously the sacrifices that your loved ones and your family members make for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean, is there any? I suppose there must be, but is there a major difference to those stress levels between a transfer that happens, I don't know, 3rd or 4th of January, and one that happens on the deadline day? Is there, how different is that from a player's perspective? Obviously, from a fan's perspective, a lot of people love it because, oh, brilliant deadline day signing. But from from where you are, is there any difference in that in those two circumstances?
Yeah, there can be. I know a lot of players who have went in the deadline day not having a clue what's happening, and then just something comes up out the blue, maybe at like 5 o'clock, that you'd never heard of previously in the full month. So like sometimes if it's early on in the window, it's kind of been bubbling away for a wee bit, and you don't need to like force it as quickly, if you know what I mean. But if it just comes up, maybe as I said, like 3-4 o'clock on deadline day, you need to proper rush. Like you don't see it coming, and then it's just like carnage for there.
Yeah, I mean, you say it's carnage. I can't imagine like just the amount of stuff that goes on, in the club. Obviously, we've spoken to a few people around the club's operations on deadline day, and then I imagine from a player's perspective, if there's if there's that inkling, or if you've got something that's been bubbling away, then you've got a little bit of time to prep for it. But if something hits at, like you say, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, suddenly, if you're like previously, if you were at Charlton and suddenly you've got to go to Lincoln or even further up north, you're going to be going, yeah, okay, right, we need to get a wriggle on. So yeah, I can only imagine that's a pretty stressful one. Given that now you're pretty settled in the squad, does uncertainty around other players ever sort of come into you or the rest of the players? And is there a collective sigh of relief when the window closes, or do you just kind of say, right, that's it, let's get on with it?
I wouldn't say there's uncertainty, because I think you always hear rumours of people coming in, people going, and that's just, I think, part and parcel of it, because you never know if stuff's going to materialise. So I think, but at the end, obviously, if it's one of your better players who are getting linked away and they stay, you're obviously like, oh yeah, buzzing that they've not left, because they're one of the main players in the team. But I think, me personally, I never get unsettled about whether if someone's going to leave or not, because you just never know, and then something again can just happen last minute that you've not heard of or not expected about another player.
Okay, and I'm guessing, having spoken to you a couple of times before, I'm guessing there's plenty of banter and ribbon that goes around when those rumours start flying.
Yeah. It's mad. It's just a mad time of the season, because then sometimes things come up and you go and you ask the players, "Oh, is this true?" And then they could just turn around and say, "Nah, I don't know where that came from." So again, sometimes you don't even know if they're all legit or not.
Fair enough. And then one question that I think probably is one that some fans would be interested to know: when you make a deadline day move, and this isn't necessarily referring to yourself, but just in general, do you think it's more likely that someone could regret the move? I mean, you kind of alluded to it earlier. Do you think it might be more likely for somebody to regret that move when it is made on deadline day due to the pressure of making a quick decision?
Yeah, it can be 100%. As I said, sometimes you feel like if you get told, right, you're free to go, then you know you're not going to play at the club that you're at. So sometimes you just choose anything just to get away from that club, so you can maybe get game time. Whereas if you had a clear head and you had, you know, loads of different things that you could do, you probably wouldn't make that decision. But sometimes you just feel forced or pressured, right, I need to get out of here, I need to try and find somewhere else. And it could be the completely wrong thing that you wouldn't make if it was just a normal, clear decision-making process.
Yeah, okay. And I'm guessing sometimes if a bid comes in, or if something does happen late on in the day, if you're, I don't know, maybe if you're relatively settled in the club that you're at, and then a bigger club comes in for you, have you seen that happen with other players, and suddenly there's a big decision to make?
Yeah, that's the same again. Sometimes you might go to a club, a bigger club in the same league, or a club in the higher division that maybe wouldn't suit your style as much, but you maybe just see the name in the division or whatever and think, oh yeah, brilliant. But it doesn't necessarily suit like what you're good at or what makes you good. So I think there's loads of different factors which kind of contribute to that, and I think you could always. It's so hard to keep a clear head in those situations and make the right decision. It's so easy to get it wrong.
Great stuff. Well, look, Conor, thank you for joining us, mate. We really do appreciate it. Obviously, it is a very different set of circumstances to when you spoke to us last season. We'll disappear and we'll let you put your feet up.
No problem. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.